Right. Greetings, everyone, and thank you very much for joining for today's session. Today, like we have this as our session 7, and these sessions are the part of the free training and internship program offered by Cybersecure India. So today we have a topic about types of injections, and today again one of our empaneled speaker who has taken the sessions for last 2 sessions also and previous internships also. He has joined today. So welcome Agniva, and thank you very much for joining. So I'll introduce today's speaker. So today's speaker is Agniva Datta. He is an aspiring security researcher and also a bug bounty hunter. He's currently pursuing his MBBS degree, and he has secured Hall of Fame and got a lot of bounties with multiple companies like Sony, Ericsson's, NASA, US government, and there are a lot of, the list is long. And also he has worked as external pen tester for Rudra Info Solutions. So again, you can also connect him on LinkedIn. So as he is there on LinkedIn also. So thank you very much, Agniva, for joining, and really you are explaining really great things all the last 2 sessions. So I hope this today's session also students will or the interns will enjoy. So over to you, Agniva. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, CSI, for giving me such an opportunity to present such session. So once again, I am back with another session, and today the topic that we will be going to cover is types of injection. So today's topic will be a little long, I guess. It will maybe it can extend up to 2 hours. So grab your seats and tighten your belts, and you can also grab a cup of coffee, because it maybe takes a bit long as we are going to cover a lot of things today. Okay, so in cybersecurity, injection refers to a type of attack. And one thing also today, I didn't have prepared the slides, so don't get me wrong, but I will explain everything in details.
So don't worry, you can directly go to the practical approach. Slides are not important. Important is whatever you want to convey. Obviously you can.
So in pen testing or in application security, injection refers to a type of attack in which an attacker injects malicious codes or data into a vulnerable application or system. And there are several types of injection when we talk about it. Generally, there we have SQL injection and LDAP injection, we have code injection, we have command injection, we have NoSQL, and there are a lot of, we have a template injection and a lot. But generally, when we try to classify it, we generally divide it into 2 types. So one are server-side injections, and one are the client-side injection. So when we talk about the server-side injection, the thing that we generally talk are code injection, email header, or also known as SMTP injection. Then there come the template injection, which includes actually 2 types. One is the client-side template injection, or CSTI, and another one is SSTI, or server-side template injection. Then comes the LDAP injection, which is actually an injection that connects internet with the intranet. Mainly, you will find it with a lot of Active Directory stuffs. Next come the command injection, and then our everyone's favorite SQL injection or SQL injection, and then XML external entity injection or XX injection, or also known as XPath injection. And when you talk about client side, we broadly classify it into 2 parts. First is the CRLF injection, and second is the host header injection. Okay, so these are the generally type of injection, and next we'll be learning each and every injection that I have mentioned here. So let's start with the fact code injection. So first of all, what is exactly code injection and how does it occur? So basically, for first we will learning is code injection. So code injection is a type of security exploit in which an attacker injects malicious code into a vulnerable software program or a system. The injected code can be designed to perform any number of malicious actions, such as stealing sensitive data, taking control of the affected system, or launching attacks against other system or network. There are several types of code injection. It can include command injection, even SQL injection, or even any particular type of code. It can be PHP code injection, it can be ASPX code injection, or it can be a really good command injection. So in all cases, the goal of the attacker actually remains same, is to take the advantage of the vulnerabilities in the target system to execute their own code and gain unauthorized access or control. Code injection attack can be difficult to detect and prevent as they often rely on exploiting complex interaction between different components of a system. Effective security measure may include input validation, security coding practice, and regular vulnerabilities. But that's the part we are coming later on. So first of all, we will see how we can perform code injection. So the first thing that we need to do is if you want to perform or solve lab over code injection, the best thing is will be if you download something known as BWAPP. So I have already recorded this particular one because as I have a lot of things that are going on in my system, so I have recorded the whole code injection video. But what you need to do, you have to download BWAP in your system. So let me show you where you can get it. So this is the official website of the BWAP, or the full form is Buggy Web Application. So it's a kind of lab environment which you can use, download, and install on your system, and then you can perform or try to do anything on this. So this is the BWAP. So you can just go to download. You can download from here, and after download, installation is very easy. If you have any XAMPP server, or if you want to install it on Windows, you can use XAMPP. And if you are try to install it on Linux, then you can just use any command line. You can, and if you have any trouble installing it, then you can just go over to YouTube. There are lots of videos regarding installation of BWAP. So you can just go and see any of how to install it. Okay, so I'll be directly going to the first video of code injection. Okay. Okay. So this is my system, and I have been this. So this is after you have installed in BWAP. So after, and you have to hover over to your local host, like you have to type what and whatever the port you have assigned. If you have kept the default port, that is the port 80, you don't have to specify it, and you can directly go on to localhost bwap login.php, and after going to, you will get a page something like this, where you will be told to provide your login credential, and the default credential is b and bug. You can see it here. So whenever we type b and bug, you can also set the security level to low, high, and medium. And if you click on login, you will see the portal, as you can see here. The next thing that we will do, you can just go to the portal and select the PHP code injection, as this will be our lab for code injection. So click on it. After that, you will get the lab, that is PHP code injection. The next thing, and you can see this is just a test page, but it is reflecting back your message. Okay, so now we have to put any type of input validation here. So this means whatever we try to put on this page via any kind of, you can append any kind of parameter in this page, and it will be, everything will be reflected back onto this page. So let's see how we can do this. You can click on this message, and you can see this message equal to test has appeared. So after you click on the message button, then something known as test will be appeared. As you can see, if you notice the URL, you can see that message equal to test is being appended at the end. Now what we can see, whatever we type after the word message equal to, it will be reflected onto this page. So in a real life website, however, this can be of any input field. It can be any search box, it can be any type of parameter, it can be whatever. So just like whatever in a real life website, you will try to input it and things can be reflected back onto the site, you will try to do it. Okay. So after that, I am typing message equal to hack, and let's see if it's being reflected on our site. So you can see the word hack is being reflected onto the site. Now the next thing that I am doing, I am trying to appending /h1. So let me explain this part a little bit. So next what I am doing, I am trying to add some HTML code into this. And I am actually checking if there are any kind of HTML injection. So I am trying to do something like this. So if you have a little idea about how HTML works, then you will know if you put this something, then the word hack will be in very bold letter and it will be the font will be very big because this is the first header of any HTML, right? So I am doing this and I can see it's not reflecting. So that means there is no HTML injection. So the next thing that we can do, I will try to append something after the word test. Okay. So the test box is there and I will try to input some code there and I will try to see what can we get after this. Okay. So just type any word and after that I am going to type some command. So I am typing PHP info. So and as we can see, after typing this word, we can see the PHP version that is of this particular site is being displayed here. So we are able to input a command of PHP, right? So that's what I was talking about. So if you try to give any type of command of the backend system, so as this particular client side is vulnerable to PHP code injection, so it's just fetching this, it's executing this particular command and it's fetching the result from the backend. And as we can see, if we just get this, we will get all the system information onto which this has been hosted. And we can see we are giving the Apache environment information. You can get the HTTP header information, VZ2 calendar, and a lot of this. So now what we'll do, I will try to remove this thing. So next the thing that I did, I just removed the whole hack, the first part, and I have directly tried to input the command and I will try to see if the server is still executing it. So that's what I am doing now. And as you can see, yes, the server is executing it. So that's the next part of the PHP injection. So if the after the parameter, even if you don't type anything, and if you still see it's executing, then means it's we are having a good go. So still it's now executing it. So now the thing we will just changing the difficulty level to medium, and then we'll see what we can do now. First we have solved it to low. Now we have set it to medium, the difficulty level. So next thing I will try to do the same. I will click on the message and we are seeing the what test and I will try to do the same, like append the PHP code. And after that, as you can see, after typing the PHP code, it's directly giving it, saying it into the response. So that means that server is not vulnerable to the first part, like the thing. So we have to go some tricks, and this means that the server is not executing if we are typing the commands just randomly. So what we can do, we'll try to encode this word. We'll try to encode it in a format. So we can just go to any online base64 encoder. You can also try to do this in Bob suite. As previous day I have shown you that there is a option for, there is a known as decoder. You can also go and try to encode and decode things there. So I will try to encode the PHP info there. Now I will replace this encoded data into the vulnerable site. So instead of typing directly PHP info, we'll just replace it with the same thing, but it will be just base64 encoded. And still we can see there is something wrong in it. So we will try to append this after the word test. So in the low case, we can see that we are trying to append, we can directly got the PHP version like this. Okay, so that's it for the code injection part. And apart from this type of code, PHP code injection, there can be always also be there things can be ASPX code injection, and there can be any other type of code injection also. Okay, so the next part, so we have already learned about the code injection thing. So the next thing that we are going to do is we can learn the email header injection, or also known as SMTP header injection. So we are going to do it. So basically, what is exactly email header injection or SMTP injection? So email header injection or SMTP header injection is a security vulnerability that can allow malicious actor to inject additional email header into an email message. This can be used to trick the recipient into opening a malicious attachment or clicking on a link that led to a phishing site. The injection of extra header is possible when user supplied data is not properly validated or sanitized before being used to construct the email message. An attacker can exploit this by injecting specially crafted headers that contain the malicious code or redirect the recipient to a malicious website. So to get a more overview of this, actually there is a very good site known as DNA Zone. Wait, D Zone, and actually this is being very beautifully explained with the code here. So this you can say, so just I'm trying to enlarge this so you can see the code. So this is actually a vulnerable code and of the client side. So let's assume that this is the code in the backend, which is actually vulnerable to SMTP injection. And so you can see as it's just a normal PHP code, and it's have something like it's have a name, we have a reply to message, and that there is a message format, and then there is to whom you are actually going to send the mail. Then there is a subject part, and there's just a SMTP header from name, reply to, mail to, and etc. thing. Now what happens exactly in the SMTP header injection or email header injection is, we'll learn. But first of all, we'll first see what are the actually the features of a particular email body, that we have to get it. That's very important. And where exactly is the input point where we are going to give our crafted response. So the first part is the email body. Like first thing is the from. In an email then consists of the part known as to. Then there is something known as CC, or you can also say there is something known as header. And there consists the parts known as CC. Then there consists of the part known as BCC. And then their last part is our body of the email. So in a email, these are all of the format that are present in the email. And how SMTP injection work is, we are appending something into the BCC part, or we are appending the BCC part once more by crafting a malicious request. And so basically what happens in a case of email header injection is, in a normal case, what you do, you just try to send one email to one particular person, right? But after putting SMTP header injection, you can send this same mail to a numerous number of person by just appending the BCC part. And this type of vulnerability actually exists in the website, like in the website email part. Like some website have, some maybe a chat feature, or something like have any subscribe feature, or something like a feature where you can send email from to the particular website owner, right? So what you can do by exploiting this vulnerability, by crafting a malicious request, you will append this BCC part once again, and you can send 10 to 15 emails to whoever you want. But the general functionality of the website is, you can only be able to send the email to the website owner or the person who is actually registered. So this is actually the vulnerability thing. Now coming back to this, so a typically genuine post request would be like this. Like you can just, you are visiting the contact page and you are trying to contact the website owners like this, and this will be the thing. But what happens in a case of the crafted or malicious request, after the name we will be appending, there is something like /n BCC, and we know what is /n. /n means this is appending a new line. So after putting /n, our new header is being said. So after the /n part, BCC will come as header, because /n is just the end of the sentence, and it means to start a new line in a code. So after this, the BCC dot spam at the rate of victim and everything will start as a new format. So this is actually the format of the crafted malicious request. And this is the vulnerability that we are actually talking about. And this we can leverage to do an attack. So now we are going to see how we can able to do this. So same thing, there is a bweb, there is an option for a mail header injection. You just have to go and select it. And in the POC, you can just use verb suit, or also if you are not trying to use if you somehow you are not using verb suit, if you are doing it on a other browser like Chrome, you can also use an extension known as Stampart data. Sometimes this is also like you can say this is just the alternate of a kind of verb suit. You can say it's just alternate of any proxy. You can directly intercept response in this Stampart data extension too. So just for the sake, I am just showing you this particular extension. You can see it's there for Chrome. Now it's also available for Mozilla Firefox. So you can try to append this in your extension, and then you can go for it. You can also try to replicate the same vulnerability in verb. It doesn't matter. So what I will do is I will try to give the name and the email. It will be random. So let me show you the first. This is the, I'm putting a name. And after that, I am putting one email. And I will try to send this request after typing any general remark. And if I click on send, the data will be proxied through the tempered data. And as you can see, we can see all the headers here. Now in the email part, you can see there is optimus@gmail.com is there. Now we can try to append something after this, as this is the body. So we'll put and followed by BCC. We can also use /n to append a new line, or alternately we can use and BCC2, and followed by all the emails we want to send. See, now after sending this request, we'll get this in our proxy. And if we just view the post data, you can see name equal to Optimus and email equal to optimus@gmail.com and BCC equal to prime@gmail.com, and there will be remark. So we are appending a new header BCC, and with the help of this, we are sending request to another email. So that's what exactly this vulnerability is, and that's how you can send one particular feature. Like if you are trying to send the try to contact, if you try, you can actually abuse this in a website, like a contact form in a website. You go, and if you have this vulnerability on a certain website, then you can use that particular contact feature to send mails to a lot of people, and every people will get that this is a legitimate mail, as it will come from the company email itself. So you can try to abuse this, and you can embed some malicious link, or can force someone to download a system malware, and they will try to execute it on their system. Or you can also use these features to change someone's password, like you can send craft a request to forgot password, something like that. Or you can steal tokens also by it, as everything will be sent from their own company's email server. So this is kind of, but one thing is this about this particular vulnerability is, in the year 2023 or in the recent years, this vulnerability is kind of obsolete. Like this vulnerability was a class which was present at the earlier year, but now email header vulnerability is there, but it's not too much relevant at this point of time. Okay, so coming to the part of mitigation, how you can mitigate this. So mitigating against email header ingestion involves validating the user input to not allow any new line character in the input, which would cause another SMTP header to be appended. In general, when validating user input, the simplest and the most robust way to achieve strong input validation is through a whitelist of allowed character for use in the SMTP header. So that's the way we can use to mitigate this vulnerability. Okay, so that's all about the email header vulnerability or the SMTP header vulnerability. So the next class that we're going to learn is the, let's go and learn the LDAP injection first. So let's talk about the LDAP injection. But before this, we need to know what is exactly the full form of LDAP. So LDAP is the lightweight directory access protocol. Now, what is it and how this particular vulnerability arises? So this one is quite an interesting point, as when you talk about LDAP injection. So LDAP basically is commonly used for authorization and authentication in many applications. And when you are talking about many applications, we are actually talking about intranet application. Like in an LDAP, like let's suppose like in an enterprise or in a big companies, there is a use of intranet. And within intranet, what happens then, there is stuff known as Active Directory, and a lot of servers in the particular organization. Everyone's has this mother, or every particular server's parent server is the at that Active Directory, and so all that communications that are going on is between the Active Directory and all the other client server that is present in that particular organization. Now, this Active Directory has an external web interface which is connected to the internet, that is to the public world. So you can think just like how I can say you. So you can say something like this, something like you can assume that there is something like a outer application is there, and and when you are just sending a request to this particular website, you can suppose that there is a website which is out in the public world, and this website is connected to a Active Directory, and this Active Directory is further connected to a numerous number of clients which is which is not publicly accessible, as they are present in the intranet. Okay, so you can also say that Active Directory or LDAP here actually serves as a middleman in between the intranet and the internet, or it serves as a middleman between the organization, internal infrastructure, and to the outer world. So this is about LDAP and how LDAP injection in a common or typical in an LDAP injection attack. An attacker injects malicious code into an LDAP query, following them to bypass the authentication or gain unauthorized access. So this attack involves exactly injecting malicious LDAP code into user input field, which can then be executed by the application LDAP server. The goal of an LDAP injection attack is to gain unauthorized access to sensitive information or perform unauthorized actions within the target system. This can include retrieving username, password, modifying user data, or even taking control of the entire LDAP directory. So the third phase that we will be learning is the LDAP. So let's write it down. LDAP injection. So before going to the practical, we should go through and over there is something known as LDAP injection cheat sheet, where there are lot of queries and stuffs are there which you can use as a reference for doing LDAP injection. So this is the official WASP cheat sheet. You can go to the WASP cheat sheet and you can learn about more, and like what are the special characters. And actually the character that we generally use to perform LDAP injections are these ones: start, bracket, dot, and minus, and etc. Okay, so you can go to this one cheat sheet, and there is another cheat sheet that we can refer, is this one. So there is also another cheat sheet up there regarding LDAP injection. Okay, so then next that we'll do is a practical. So for the practical, let me just close this sheet. I will just use a website known as rootme.org. So you have to go to this particular website and you have to create account in this one. Okay, so and then there are a lot, you have to create an account and you have to log in and do etc thing in this particular website, and there are a lot of things are out there, like a lot of web challenges and a lot of other challenges are there in this website itself. So you can try to do this anyway. So in this particular website you will get something known as LDAP injection, and you have to go over this, and after going to it you will get an interface like this. So I will open my book. Okay. So I will turn my intercept on. Let's give some random input, like let's give some username is equal to admin, password equal to admin, connect, and it's an unknown identifier. So I will try to give something like this, like an LDAP input star and admin, invalid LDAP syntax, and you can see we are getting something like UID is equal to star. So UID equal to bracket star bracket. Okay. So we can take advantage of this particular thing, and we are saying that we are getting something like user password equal to admin. Okay. So this is just a error message, but this error message is actually stating us how the backend is being processed here. So we can do something like this, like some. So let me just actually do it in the verb. That will be much better. We have our intercept on, right? So yeah. So I'll just go to my repeater. I'll just do is like star and star. Then we can do something like this, or you can directly give this. And then we can give the user password equal to Control C. And here we'll just try to encode it, and we'll try to send this request. So this is our crafted query. And if you have any, just let me first check if this is being authenticated. And we can see actually we are getting the password and username. So if you have not understand what actually I have done, so I have done nothing exactly. So after typing the star and hash, we got something like this, an error message, and where it exactly stating us how the format user password is being passed. So the format of user password is user password equal to admin. Next, I just refer to the cheat sheet, and I just pasted something this particular one. Instead of UID equal to, I just paste user password equal to. Rest I just followed this particular one, this cheat sheet thing. As this is the basic exam. This is the basic LDAP injection thing you need to do. So I just did the same thing. I just copied up to this. After this, it was already being told how its thing is being passed into the LDAP at the user password equal to. So instead of typing UID equal to, I just put user password equal to. And so I did the same thing. And in case of the password, I just type start and followed by a bracket. And after I send it, we can see that we are being authenticated, that we have bypassed this authentication, and we have successfully got the password, and we have also got the username. The username is ch25, and the password, we can see this particular value. So let's see if we have got the right password or not. So I will just copy this, and in place of the username, I will type ch25. And I will connect. And you can see we have logged into the application and we have successfully solved this particular challenge. So that's it regarding this LDAP injection. And talking about the mitigation, in order to prevent LDAP injection, it's important for developers to implement proper input validation and sanitization technique for integrating LDAP functionality into their web application. It's also recommended to use the parameterized queries and limit the privilege of LDAP service account as much as possible. So, and LDAP injections, particularly in an LDAP injection lab is also there in the BWAP, but it's not very good. So I will suggest you try to solve this lab. And if you want to solve other labs of LDAP injection, then I will suggest you buy a subscription of Pentester Academy, as Pentester Academy have 2 or 3 labs or regarding LDAP attacks. So you can try to do those. The particular BWAP challenge for LDAP is not very good and it's somehow broken at lot points. So better you do root me's once and or the pentester one in order for practicing. And the mostly you will encounter LDAP attacks generally while you are trying to access the Active Directory. Like if you are trying to access the intranet features. So it's kind of like same like SSRF, and sometimes LDAP attacks also has 1 or 2 similarities in which we actually have similarities with the SSRF. Like with the help of LDAP attacks, we can also do port scanning, internal port scan, and we can actually do the same thing with SSRF too. So yeah, so mainly you actually by the in a nutshell you can say like by LDAP injection you actually get the data of the internal organization which are very sensitive, and you also get the data of Active Directory. So that's it regarding the LDAP injection and the LDAP attacks. And so let me just close it. And the next class of vulnerability that we are going to see, let's go for SQL injection or SQLI. Now this will be interesting. So for this, let's type. So SQLI stands for SQL injection. It's a type of security vulnerability that occurs when an attacker inputs or inject malicious SQL code into an application database query logic. This can lead to unauthorized access, data loss, or data corruption. SQL injection attacks are typically carried out by exploiting web app features. So SQL injection are mainly carried out by exploiting web application input validation vulnerabilities, such as not properly sanitizing user input before including it in a SQL query. It is important for developers to implement proper input validation and parameterize queries in order to prevent SQL injection attack. So basically, we use SQL injection to bypass authentication. We use SQL injection to get information about the database. We use SQL injection to dump a whole database. So this is one of the this vulnerability is there since the dawn of web applications, and this vulnerability is present all throughout the internet still days, and this vulnerability is still very relevant as these are still there in even in secure web application structure like Facebook. This type of vulnerabilities are still there. Not you will find in the main application itself, but a popular hunter out there known as Godfather Orwa, he has find Facebook a SQL injection to bypass Facebook's admin page. Like he got access to some internal subdomain, and after getting access to the internal subdomain, he just used he had this had some kind of authentication, and he just used SQL injection to bypass it. So yeah, so this is not a like this happened just in the last year in the month of August or September. So yeah, SQL injection is still very much relevant in today's class too, like in today's web applications and today's infrastructure. So we will just going to see and visit how we can perform SQL injection. But before this, we have to understand sometime the queries. So we'll go and learn the queries, and we'll learn the injection side by side. So I will refer port figure for SQL injection. So the first lab that I will show you is the SQL injection vulnerability allowing login bypass. How you can bypass authentication. So this lab has an SQL injection, and we have to gain the administrator user with it. Okay. So I just open the lab. and and this is the username. So we can see there is a input field for username and there is an input field for password. So if we just normally type administrator, and if you type password, and if you type login, we are seeing that we are getting something known as invalid username or password, right? So we have to do is we have to perform SQL injection, like we have to put any SQL query and we have to try to bypass it. So yeah, so let's see how we can do it. And another thing is, so that we need to try something that we want to analyze the file. So let me see one thing. If we don't type the username and we just type the password, what can be the result? Like if we only type the password and it is telling us to go for the username. Okay, so that's fine. So I will try to input a query. So this query will be something like this. So I will try to build a query, SQL query. Select first name from users. So maybe the back where username equal to admin and password equal to admin. So this is the query that we are building up. So if we just keep admin, like if you type the word username equal to admin and password equal to admin here, then the backend query that is being processed is something like this. Select first name from user, where username equal to admin and password equal to admin. So what we can try to do is if we type something like admin followed by slash slash, so if we do something like this, so we will copy this one and we are still getting the false value. So next thing that I will try, we know the username is administrator, right? So I will just type here administrator, and then I will copy this one, just this value, and I will try to give the input here, followed by password equal to, let's type admin. And if you type login, we can see we are logged in as an administrator. So what has exactly happened actually? So actually this is the case, we are breaking the Boolean logic in SQL. So select first from the user where username equal to administrator. Now we already had the information that the username administrator is actually user. So administrator is a true value. So where username equal to administrator, this is true, right? And next we are doing is we are actually commenting out the rest part. So minus minus is actually, by doing this, we are commenting out the whatever is there after the word administrator. So the final query that is being passed to our database is like kind of like this. Just the select first name from user by username equal to administrator, because the rest part is being commented out. So and the username equal to administrator is a true value, like username is always administrator. So the result that we are getting is true. And what actually the value we are getting here, select first name from user where username equal to administrator. So this is a true value, but there is and after the and clause, password equal to admin. So if we just remove this, so the first thing when we are typing just like this, so this is something going like true and false. And in Boolean, the value of true and false is always false. That's why. So instead of and, if the clause was something like or, so if you could have appended or in here, then the value would have been true or false. And then the answer would have been true. And then also we could have been be able to log in. So you have to make the query such a way so that the whole value, that the final value of the query should always be true, not false. So if the final query would be true, then you will be able to bypass the authentication. So this is actually the basics of how a SQLI works. So a lot of people actually doesn't try to tell this how things work in the background. So the final value that you have to submit is always a true value. So if you try to submit a true value at the final, you will able to bypass any kind of authentication in the SQL. So this is exactly how it's going on for the authentication. So yeah, we have solved the login bypass lab. Next, we'll try to solve 2 more labs of SQL injection. I will go to this. And in this particular video, we'll determine how many numbers of columns are there. So one thing I will do for this, I will just go to CyberFox. I will use another browser because using CyberFox is better for things like SQL injection, as in browser like this, you can set something known as hack bar. So like this one. And if you use a hack bar, then things like if you are doing manual SQL injection, then hack bar helps to do it a lot faster, even better than using Bobsuit. So I will use CyberFox, and this feature, this hack bar feature is not present in normal Firefox. So you have to, if you search for hack bar in normal Google, you will get a lot of results. So download it and add it as extension in your CyberFox. So you can also try to do all the everything in through Bird, but I personally prefer using Hackbar for performing any SQL injection. So I will just log in. I will just go to the what was the page name. So basically, I'll just access the lab and I will try to see. And I will just copy this lab page. Okay, so I'll just copy this and I'll paste. Okay. So what we have to do, we have to determine number of columns that are present in the backend of this particular lab, like of this particular website. So let's say this is our target website, and we have to determine how many columns are there. So we can see generally in normal case, if you type all, so these are the all number of columns you can see. But actually there are some columns hidden. So total how many number of columns are there? we'll try to find out. So the first thing that we will do is I will load this particular URL in my Hackbird, and the next thing that I will do, I will try to find any parameter in this website. So I will try to click on this lifestyle, and you can see there is a category equal to lifestyle. There is food and gift. So the first thing that if we are trying to make a methodology here, the first thing when you go to or performing any SQL injection, you need to find any parameter. So just go through every link present in the page and go through every pages and see in which page you got a parameter. So you got a parameter like category equal to food and tea, category equal to lifestyle. So I will load this particular URL in my hack bar. Then the next thing that we'll do, we'll try to break this site. So we have to append something at the end so the site will break. So I will just give inverted comma 1 and I will execute it. And you can see the site has breaked. The site is broken. So it is throwing us an internal server error. So the next thing after breaking the site, the next thing we'll do, we'll try to balance this query. And for balancing, we'll try to revive the site. So we can give something like minus minus plus, and we can see the site is being revived. After this, we'll try to add something like the union clause. Like here we are saying we need to determine the number of columns by the union clause. So we'll try the basic union clause. So there is already a statement here, union statement, and we don't know how many number of columns are there, right? So I will just giving random like 5, and I'll click on OK, and then I will try to execute it. And we have to go on until it throws error. So we have seen after giving 5 union character, the site is not throwing error. That means there are more than 5 columns. So we have to append more. So and the query should be union select followed by null. We are not giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or A, B, C, D, E because we don't know what type of column is it. Whether it's a column which is made up of strings or it's a column made up of number. That's why we are giving the null. You can see sometime if you have any idea, if you have previously seen SQL injection, you will see some hackers. You have seen if you have seen some POCs, you might seen that some people use 1, 2, 3, 4 after this. But that's generally they assume it that the columns might be of number. But general case, if you're doing it, you don't know if the columns are of numbers or columns are of made of strings. So here we give null. So let's see how many number of columns are there. Let's append one more null and let's see, execute. So still not there. So let's append one more, like 7. So let's give 8, no. 9, no. 10, no. 11, no. So we can try to increase this value by directly going to, you can just go to this again union base. We'll try to go click on the null and I will directly give some high values like 15 and I will check. Still there. Okay, so I will check for some very large value and I will see. Let's give some value like 100 and let's see. So still somehow it's throwing us. So there might be more than this particular one. So there can be more than this particular value, right? So this can be like 100 columns or 100 more than 200 columns, but that's not. So there might be something that's that's stopping us. So what we can go, we can add something very long value again. There's some problem, like there is so many 100 and still it's going. This should not be the case. There is something maybe wrong with the site. Hmm, like there should not be so many numbers. I don't know what exactly going on here, as they should already throw an error. Let's, if we just give 2, okay, so I think okay, so wow, I just got it exactly what everything is going wrong here. Okay, so I have to add actually the query after the, sorry, so I made a mistake here actually. Okay, that's why it was throwing me, I was getting such query like this. Okay, so we have to input the union select after the inverted comma, so like before the balancing part. Okay, so I was doing wrong here actually, sorry, actually I was doing wrong here. So we have to give it actually in here. I was doing wrong. So yeah, if you just give 10 here and then if you execute, we'll get an error. So that means there is less than 10 columns are there. So I am doing wrong at this particular one. Sorry. So if you just give 5 and if you click on 5 and you try to execute, we are still getting internal server error. So that means there are less than 5 number of columns are there. So what if, like, if we just reduce 2 directly, 1, 2, like what if, like, there are 3 columns, and we can see we got lab has been solved, and so that means that there are only 3 columns present in this particular backend. So this is it. So this is actually, so I was doing wrong actually at first. I was appending it at the last. So you have to put the union select query in between the balancing thing. So after you break the statement, and then what you do, you have balanced the statement. So then we need to put the union select in between that part. Okay, so this is it actually. So we have solved it here also. Next we will go for another lab. So let's do this one. And in this particular one, we'll introduce to a better method to find number of columns, and also we can how we can actually guess which columns contain text or which column contains string. So I'll just go and I'll copy this particular URL here. Okay, so they have also told us we have to make the database string this. Okay, anyway, so the first thing what we do, we have to find the parameter. So we have till now we have built a small methodology name. So the first thing that we'll do, we'll find a parameter. So we have got a parameter like this. So we'll load it in our hack bar. The next thing that we'll do, we'll try to break the site. We are appending inverted comma at the end, and we have break the site. Now we will balance it by typing minus minus plus. So you can also type something like minus minus, or you can also type like minus minus space minus, or you can also type minus minus this followed by minus. So you can type anything. Even you can type something like hash after this in order to balance it. But let's keep it minus minus plus here, and let's execute it. And you see the site has been fixed. The next thing is we have to determine how many number of columns are there. So before using other than using union statement, we can also use another statement which is known as order by. So apart from using the union statement, we can also use something known as order by statement, and this helps to determine how many number of columns are there much faster. So we can just go and type order by followed by how many numbers are there, and if we go execute, it will give. Now the way to find number of columns by order by is just the opposite of union by. So in case of union select statement, we have to go on until the site gives, until the site is fixed. Like if you put any wrong number, of columns, then the site will break if you just give the union select statement. But in case of order by, we have to increase it until the site get break, and we have to so the last column will be just the before one from which the site will break. So we will understand more if we just go on. So there is actually more than one. So if we just increase this value to 2, site is still not breaking. So more than 2 site, 2 column. So 3 still not breaking. But if we give it to 4, then the site is breaking. That means number of columns there is 3. So we'll keep it to 3. Now we know that number of columns there are 3. Now we'll use union statement and we'll give it 3. Execute. Now the next thing, how to determine which one has string. So let's give the first one and put it some like string here. And if you click on execute, it's giving internal error. That means the first column is not made up of string. So we'll make it null. Now we'll go and check the second one if it is string. And you can see site is not giving error. That means the second one is string. We will also check if the third one is string or not. And site is giving error. That means third one is not string, only the second one is string. So we have determined which column is string, that means containing text. So instead of A, we'll just give this one in order to solve the lab. I can see the lab is solved. So this is how you can determine which column contain a string and which column is actually number. So let's look at another of the labs. Let's do this one. And what we need to do, we need to retrieve all the multiple values in a single column. Okay, so before this, we need to do this one in order to understand this lab. So retrieving data from other tables. So we need to do this one first. So I'll just copy it and I will do it in the CyberFox. So paste and go. So the first thing will be determining the how many number of columns are there. So in order to determine the first need, so we need to check the first thing that we need to find which one has parameter. So this one has parameter, we'll load it. So the next thing is we will try to break the site. Just do it. Now we'll fix it. Next is we need to find number of columns. So we'll go order by statement. We'll execute. Let's determine the number of columns. So there are only 2 columns here. Okay. So let's determine the by we will use union based union statement, and we'll execute it. And the next thing we need to do is we need to find which one has string. So we'll move to the first and we'll check if this one is string, and we can see this one is string. So the next thing that we'll check which if the second one is string or also. So and we can see the second one is string too. Yeah. So now we need to craft such a statement. We don't know what are the tables here. So what we need to do, we need to retrieve data from the other tables. Okay. So we don't know what are the tables here. Let's see if there is something in the lab. Okay, so it has already been told the database contains a different table called users with columns known as username and password. So we need to create a payload. So we are already being told the name of the table. So we'll create a payload like union select username, as this was probably, yes, this was the name of the column. So username, we'll use a and statement, or we can also use comma. Password from, now we'll use the table name. So the table name is users. So we'll try to use this statement. Okay, so let's do this. Union select was already there. Sorry. I have just this twice. And you can see after executing this, we have got the username and password of administrator. We have got username, password of Carlos and everything. So what we need to do, I think we need to log in as administrator. Okay. So we'll just copy this one, copy, go to my account, put username administrator, paste the password, click on login, and yeah, we have successfully logged in as administrator. So this is how we can query database like this if we know the table name. Another thing that another lab will do, that is the how to query get multiple username and password, and that's in a single file. Uh, but that will be not possible. Let's do something like, let's do, instead of doing this, let's do this one, as this will we will learn about something important. SQL injection, querying the database type and version. So as this is much more. We'll learn something new here also. So let's access the lab. Now so we'll do the same thing first. First, let's clear this up. So the first thing is we need to find anyone which has any kind of parameter, load it, we'll break it, we'll try to balance it, and next thing we'll try to find number of columns. So we'll go by the order by statement and we'll see determine how many number of columns are there. So there are two number of columns. So there are two columns actually. Next we'll put union statement. We'll execute it. Null, and next thing we'll see, we'll try to see which one has string and which one is not. So first one is string. We'll see if the second one is string 2. Second one is string 2. Good. Now one thing I will show you, that we'll use something known as SQL cheat sheet. Is there in hint? Yeah. Always refer this cheat sheet, and like whenever you are performing SQL injection manually, always keep this cheat sheet aside. So we are already being something informed that we are attacking on MySQL and Microsoft database. But had we not been told what type of database it is, then the next thing, if you want to know the database, we have to give this type of command. You can see for Oracle, we have to give this one. But for Oracle, there is something known as from dual that we have to add. If you just complete the Oracle lab, you will understand. And for Microsoft, we have to give at the rate version. For PostgreSQL version, followed by two bracket. For MySQL at the rate version. And this lab has already told us that the database at the backend is MySQL and Microsoft. So both have at the rate version. But if this was not informed to us, then we had to try all the three, and we have to make sure what was exactly in the backend. But as this has been told to us, so the one step is here. But had this not been told, you have to go try each of them to check which database version is there in the backend. So for Microsoft MySQL, as both are same, so I'll go and I'll type at the rate version. And if you go below, you can see we have got the version of database, and thus we have solved the lab. So this is how we can retrieve the database. We are not going much more deep into the SQL injection, as we have to cover other injection as well. But I will tell you to solve all the labs of SQL injection. And if you encounter any problem or if you don't understand, one channel I will always refer you for learning SQL injection and to solve this lab also. That channel name is Rana Khalil. This one. He has made understand each of the SQL injections very easily and in much lucid format. So if you have if you are stuck in a particular lab or if you are not understanding SQL injection at some point, I'll always tell to go and visit her channel and watch her videos regarding. Okay, so just visit this one in YouTube for your reference purpose. So I am leaving this SQL injection up to now because we have to cover other bug classes and other bug vulnerabilities in this lecture too. So this is all about the SQL injection. And one thing, if you want to automate SQL injection, there is a tool known as SQL map. And also there a lot of SQL map cheat sheets are present. So, and the map is already, if you are using Kali Linux, SQL map is by default installed. If you are using any other OS, then you have to install SQL maps. So you can just go to GitHub and download the repository. And this is the SQL map cheat sheet. So what you can do, you can just give the name of the target minus u followed by, just you can give, if you have identified already the vulnerable parameter, just give the name and followed by dump, and like this one, like whole dump all. And if you can just keep all this part and just give the minus minus dump all, and it will dump all the database. You can refer to this cheat sheet further for learning more about SQL map queries. And if you are using any other software, you can download SQL map from this. Other than SQL map, sometime if it's SQL map is having throwing some kind of problem, then there is another exploitation tool which is much better than SQL map. Its name is Gauri. Gauri. You can refer to this tool also. This is better than SQL map in kind of for exploitation of. But one thing is SQL map or Gauri, if it's a time-based SQL injection, then Gauri or SQL map both won't detect. But for exploitation, both are just good, and Gauri is one step ahead. So always you can also try to use this tool. And if you are trying to detect SQL injection while hunting on websites, you can check out tool known as SQLite detector. I always refer to this tool for finding error-based SQL injection. So this will just detect if there is any kind of, you can just go to any website, and if you have done the recon class, you will understand how to gather URLs of a particular site, and then you can feed this URL directly to this SQLite detector, and it will just give you the result, like if any particular URL is vulnerable to SQL injection. So this helps a lot in automation. So this is all about SQL injection that you can learn. And the next class of vulnerabilities or next class of injection that we're going to learn is the OS command injection. Oh, sorry, I don't know why I'm closing this. So this. Okay. So uh, just a second, guys. Hello, sir. Hello. Just a minute. Okay, guys. So back again where we are. We are just talking about the command injection, right? Yeah. So what is command injection? So we have already learned about the code injection, where we have already discussed how we can inject code in certain applications and we can get result about it. So command injection is kind of like code injection. It's actually, so you can say, just a subclass of code injection. By command injection, so what you can do, you can type arbitrary commands into the user input and you can make the system run those commands. So command injection is a type of security vulnerability which occurs when an attacker is able to execute arbitrary commands on your target system by injecting some malicious code. Like you can type some any kind of, you can give some Linux command like ls pwd, and if you see those commands are being executed on the system itself, then you can understand that there is some kind of command injection vulnerability. And this can allow the attacker to gain unauthorized access to sensitive information, modify or destroy any particular thing. Like you can, even by using command injection, you can delete any file. Like you can use rm followed by any Linux command you can execute. And if it's a Windows server, you can also use any Windows command like any PowerShell command by your wish. So you can destroy anything, or you can even take control of the whole system. So basically, if you get a command injection, you can, it's generally a very high class, or exactly a critical class of vulnerability which comes under P1. Command injection attack are typically carried out through web application or other program that accept user input and pass it to a command interpreter without proper validation or sanitization. To prevent command injection attacks, it is important to carefully validate all user input and sanitize it before using it any command or system calls. Additionally, limiting the privilege of system user and restricting access to sensitive resources can help mitigate the impact of any successful attack. So, in order to learn the command injection, we'll be also be referring to port trigger. So, let's go and look at the labs on the of command injection. Okay, so we'll get in the learning path. Yeah, command injection. So these are the lab of command injection, right? So let me show you. This will give you a better idea of how this works. So what it has, this lab contain an OS command injection vulnerability in the product checker and blah blah blah. So we need to, so let's see what exactly we can do. So better we use Bob suit. Okay, so this is the website, and in order to find command injection, the first thing that we need to see is we need to browse the site and just we need to go and see literally every features, try and see which features we can use. Like the base thing still remains the same. Is we need to find actually the parameter, actually any important parameter. So there is an option known as check stock. I will try to utilize this. And is there any other options for this site? Nothing, I guess. There's no more buttons or any. Okay, so let's just see what we got in the history. So this is one parameter. Whenever you will get parameter like this, and there is another parameter product stock. So this has two parameter. Okay, so we can just see. We'll send this one to repeater. Why I am taking this? Because product ID is here in this parameter too, also in this. So it has one more parameter too. It has one parameter and it has two parameters. So I choose the next one. So let me send the request. And it says giving 200 response. So one thing, when we are talking about command injection, so after any input, the thing that we can do make command injection are pipe and semicolon and double pipe, even double semicolon, or any combination of any of this. Okay, so the thing that I will try to execute any system command, like any Linux system command. I am assuming this the backend is Linux because most of the system runs on Linux. So I am assuming this is Linux. And if you are not sure, you can use by the Vapalizer extension, you can confirm, as this is some kind of CTN technology. So you can't, when in real life is, you will generally understand what is going on in the backend. So I am thinking as this is Linux, and so the space, I am piping it. I am giving ls and I am sending request. And as you can see, this field was vulnerable as ls is giving home peta stock report.sh. So it is listing what are the directories present in it. That's good. So that means this particular endpoint was vulnerable to command injection. So instead of ls, if you type pwd, we will get the which directory we are in. So we can type any type of system commands on this. Okay. And though we have solved the lab, we can check and see if this field was also vulnerable. Let's see. And yes, we can see after giving ls, stock report.sh is coming. So yeah, both the field were vulnerable. Let's confirm one more. Yes. So both field were vulnerable. So anyway, let's do another lab. Okay, lab. So next is bind with command injection time delays. In the meantime, I'll just let me just access the lab. Let me turn this intercept off, and I will clear everything. So I will do this. So there is there anything stored? Yeah. So okay, they already point out where the vulnerability is. So that is something important. It is in the feedback section. So instead of just going blindly and try to find out, we'll directly go to. Let me just fill everything. Fill this. So let me just submit feedback, and let me check. So this is the post request. So I will send this to repeater because this one has parameter. Don't go for get request because those doesn't have any parameter where you can query. Okay. So now we need to identify which field is vulnerable. There are a lot of fields there, right? But we don't know which one is vulnerable. So we need to go and find out. We need to check each and every field and see which one is vulnerable. So first, let's see if the first one is vulnerable. No. This one is not. But one thing, I think one thing I am forgetting. They are saying it's a blind waste command injection. And one thing, whenever there is a blind waste command injection, like one thing I forgot to explain. If there is a blind waste command injection, then you can't use directly system commands in it. You have to ping the site. Okay. So like you have to use something like ping. Then you can try to ping google.com from here. But here I will just use I will try to ping my local host and I will try to get the response. Like ping, I will just ping only one time. -c is for using the ping just one time. Okay. So this time I will just going to use. And the thing that we will just keep it from 10 seconds as I don't want, I only want it to ping 10 times, not more than that. Like, sorry, I -c10, I just want to ping it for 10 seconds as I don't want to go this on loop. But if how can you identify whether something is a blind command injection or not? You have to check normally those endpoints, then you have to check by type we go by using ping followed by -c and how many times you want to ping followed by any local host. So you can also give Google like 8.8.8.8. Okay, so this is probably a blind command injection as is being told here already. So I'll just use ping -c 10 followed by 127.0.0.1 and I will close this. And if I send this, I am not getting anything. So I will just copy this one. I will try to add this after the email too. And it is showing internal server error. Okay, so I will add one more here. So maybe something is there. And we can see the server is not coming. So there is might be vulnerable. Okay, as we can see, there was a 10-second delay. Like let me replay the request. If I send it, we can see there is a delay, right? So as the server is pinging for 10 seconds. So there is a 10-second delay to come the response. So this means that email field is vulnerable to command injection. And that's it. So we have identified which one is vulnerable. And that's how you can find blind command injection. So let's do another lab. And in this lab, we have to use output reduction to something I've heard. So there is a writable folder, something that is being told to us that this is a writable folder. And in order to solve the lab, we have to retrieve the answer of who am I. Okay. So let's go to the lab. Till then, let's clear the history. So this is the last lab that we will do for this command injection. Otherwise, हम सब lab नहीं करेंगे. So let me pass it everything to Bob. And they already will go to the submit feedback. I'll fill the details. And they told that this is also a byte command injection, but output will be captured from this particular folder. So we have to redirect the output to this folder. Got it. So we have to make a command something like this. Like if you type put ls, we have to redirect it into the for www as images followed by output.txt. You can make a file like this. Okay, so we have to do something like this. Instead of ls, we can use who am I, as this has already been told to us. This will directly solve the lab also. Yeah. So we can make it like who am I. So I'll just copy this. I will look for the post request. Post wala kahan hai? This is the post request. I'll send it to repeater. And as the email field was vulnerable in the previous one, so most probably this will be the same, but you have to check every field in a real life site. Okay, so don't assume like this. Let me close this one too. I'll send the request, and we got a 200 response. So now we have to retrieve this output.txt. Now we have to find where we can get this output.txt. So we need to look for any kind of URL that is calling any particular file. So we have to, let's visit home. Let's visit array. This is product ID is equal to 2. This is calling something product ID. But this is product ID. This is not much important. We need to something that is fetching from the backend. If we just go to logger might will have something. 1 minute. There is something known as JPG, you can see, right? This one. So this is something which is fetching from the backend, like the image file. So I will try to use this one, repeater, because image file will be fetching something from the backend. We are getting 200 response. So if we type the file name to output.txt, like the file where you have saved, we can see we got the name of the who am I, right? See. So we can try to do something like this also. like ls and output 1.txt. You can send file like this also, and we can say like output 1.txt, and it will list all of the thing that is present. So this was an example of another blind command injection where the output is being portrayed to some other file. So yeah, that's it for this command injection vulnerability. And let's move over to another class of vulnerability, and we'll be doing the XPath injection. This will be the last topic on our client side. That's the XPath injection or some external entity. So we'll also use port trigger for this actually. Go to the learning path, go to the XXE, and this is it. So what is an XXE injection or external entity injection? So as this is being described, XML external entity is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to interfere with an application processing of XML data. So, some of the application handle inputs and redirect it in the form of XML data, and some application use JSON to parse data, right? Some application use XML to parse data, some application use JSON to parse data. So, sometimes if this particular vulnerability, XML external entity injection, is there in those sites which use XML to parse data, it will allow an attacker to view files on the application server file system and to interact with any backend or external system that the application itself can access. In some situation, an attacker can escalate an XXE attack to compromise the underlying server or other backend infrastructure by leveraging XXE to perform SSRF attack. So we will better understand it by solving some labs here. So there are a lot of labs, so we'll be solving 2 or 3 labs. Let me clear the history. Okay, so as they had been told, the first lab that this lab has a checkstock feature that processes XML input and returns unexpected value, and we have to give such a payload that retrieve the etc password file, right? So we'll pass everything to our bar, and this is a checkstock features, right? So this parts some data in XML. So if we go, we can see this is the thing that they're talking about. There is some data in XML like this, and we have to retrieve it. Now we have to modify this particular data in such a way so that we can inject some kind of query in it, and we will get any command injection, like as we have to retrieve the files of like etc password. So actually what we'll be doing, we'll be doing a command injection, but in the form of XXE, in the form of XML. So let's see how we can do it. So So we will, okay, no. We'll encode something like this. Let me build the query outside. Okay. Let me build the query, what we're going to use. So it's just a simple XML query. There is nothing. You can get the query in anywhere, but we are just going to insert a file here. So it will be nothing, just like doc type test. Now our payload that we are retrieving, this. So this is the file that we have created, like our payload. Copy, and we'll paste it in our buff here, and we have made a declaration XXC, entity XXC system, right? So we have to put it in the somewhere. So we can put it in the product ID, like, and like we're just calling this particular function. So now if you send a request, we can see we got invalid product ID followed by everything, the every content of password, etc password file, right? So this is the just the query. This is a general query of an XXC. The payload we have built, we are calling XXC system followed by our payload, like which file we are calling along with it. So then in the replacing product ID, we have replaced our the part we called, and as this is an invalid product ID, so this part is ignored and given invalid product ID, and file etc password is being shown to us. So this is a classic example of an XPath injection vulnerability, and that's how you can exploit it. So we'll be seeing another lab. Exploiting XSC to perform SSRF attack. We can do this, but as we don't know about SSRF, so it's will better if we just go for out of band interaction. We visit this lab. So it is also the checkstock feature that passes, but same thing, but it does not display the result. So we first of all we need to detect the blind XXC by triggering out of band interaction with an external domain. To solve the lab, we have to use BART collaborator. So if you are using one thing, so we just, but before that I will just clear out everything here. So this is a case of blind external entity. So we can't use a direct command like file etc password or something like that. So we have to make an out of band interaction. So the vulnerable field is already being informed to us. It is the same checkstock field. So I'll send this to repeater. Send this request. Now we'll do the same thing. Sorry. Recover. just in the place of file etc password, we'll replace it with our own domain. As we don't have a domain here, so we will use BART collaborator. Just go to BART collaborator, click on copy to clipboard, just append HTTP, followed by this. Sorry, we will paste this on here itself, and same thing in place of product ID, we'll type and xxe. And if you click on send, invalid product ID. But you click on poll now here, we should see some kind of interaction. Yes, we have seen a DNS interaction here. See, so this means, see this one. This confirms that this particular field is vulnerable to external entity attack. So this is how you can detect external out of a blind XXC. So a lot of people will now tell while solving the lab that the newest version of Bobsuit doesn't have collaborator client. So what should I do? So what you can guys do? Two things you can opt for. The first one, you can use old version of Bob. Next thing that you can use, go to this website, interact.sh. Interact. Just use this site instead of Bob collaborator. Okay, interact site is not present here. Okay, interact.sh. इसका कुछ नया वर्जन है क्या? So you can yes, you can see interact.sh is a server side that use out of band testing. So you can directly launch it from your terminal by installing interact.sh from here. You can see everything is being told there how you can download and install interact.sh in your terminal. After that, you will get something you can also try to incorporate with this Discord board, or also you can try to visit this site. Now this is one is down somehow, so you won't get this one directly, but you have to directly create interact server on your own machine by following this repository, and then you can test it. You will get a own unique URL like that of collaborator. So it will be like this, and then you can use it for testing DNS interaction. Okay, so you can thus use interact.sh like this instead of collaborator. To the next vulnerability class that will go. So that's it for external entity injection. I hope you will do the rest lab by yourself. And we have just completed all the server side injection topics. So the next injection class that we are going to follow is the client side injection, which include CRLF injection and the hosted injection. So next we'll move to the CRLF injection first. Before that, just a second, guys. Give me a minute. Let me drink water as I am just hold on a minute. Let me drink water. Okay. So back to where we are. So the next thing that we will be learning about the CRLF injection. So talking about CRLF injection, so we learn this is the client side vulnerability, like client side injection. So we'll learn what is it, and we'll also see how this vulnerability is present out in the wild. So CR let me just so CRLF injection is a refers to a type of web-based attack. So you can say it's a kind of attack when an attacker exploit vulnerabilities out in the cookies. Like we have seen the mail header vulnerability or SMTP vulnerability, right? So this is kind of the vulnerability is same, like the type is same, but this is the vulnerability present in the web application directly itself, not in the emails. So what happens is the same, and attackers tries to append one on a header. There we have added header like BCC. Here we try to append other header in the form of cookies. Like we try to set some cookies, we try to inject some new cookies in the form of header into the request, and by it we try to execute attacks such as cross-site scripting. We try to do attacks such as try to get cookies of some other person. We try to do attacks like code injection or other. So this attack mainly involves injecting specially crafted input such as HTTP header or user input that contain carriage return or the line fit character. So this is actually the full form CRLF. The CR is carriage return and LF is line feed. These characters are typically used to signal the end of a message or a request and the beginning of a new one. However, if a web application input validation is not properly implemented, an attacker can use CRLF injection to add. So basically, this is bullshit actually. I don't need to explain the theory thing. I will show you a practical, and that's how you can directly get it. What exactly it's CRLF? Like which is hota kaise hai? Sorry, like how it happens. So let me just see. I have two videos. This is a so you can see this one is the domain known as appsmartspeed.com. And the first thing that we'll use, we'll try to intercept the request of it. Now I am sending this request to repeater. And you can see we get the response 302 move temporarily, right? Now we'll set our payload, that is the CRLF payload. So %0D, %0A, this is a null byte character. In case of the email header injection, we have seen payload that involve /n, right? But in case of CRLF, if you want to set some new header, we use a null byte character. This is an example of a null byte character 0D, 0A. You can go and search for null byte character out in Google. And you can see what are those. You can try to research on null byte character. So back to it. Then you can see we are trying to add a cookie. We are trying to set a cookie. Basically, we are trying to set a new header. Then we are giving hacker equal to professor. And we will be adding it after the gate one. Now, if we send this request and we observe the response, we can see a new cookie is being set. Set cookie equal to hacker equal to professor, as you can see. So CRLF injection is successful. You can see in the cookie itself, the value is hacker equal to professor. Now we can try to inject any cookie here. We can try to modify the cookie, right? So we'll see what we can go do from here. So I will try to remove this and I will add further more payload. So we are adding our null byte payload only percentage 0D, percentage 0A, percentage 0D, percentage 0A, just the null byte characters. And we see and there is a blank page. So next thing that we will try to see, if we are trying to inject any HTML content into it, as in the response we have seen there is something 302 found here, right? So after inputting this only null byte character, we can see whatever the value was there, like whatever the value was there itself in the response, we have tried to reflect it on the website itself, right? So now we'll try to inject some HTML code. So I will try to first encode it and then I will inject it. And as you can see, after putting it, we can see we have got this. Sorry, okay, yeah, sorry. Let me show you this once again. Upon pasting this here, and if we send the request, we will see it in the response. So now if you try to view the page, we will see this in the form of a HTML page. So this is HTML injection. You can see. So you can lever the CRLF injection to an HTML injection. So let's inject some JavaScript too. And let's see if we can see excesses here. So and you can see JavaScript is being injected here. So we got the vulnerability, right? So there might be an XSS also. Let me show you another POC. So this was in the geo subdomain. So if we just add this and we check, we can see this is out in the response. See URL equal to virus equal to value. So we'll try to see, we'll try to set cookie, and next we'll try to see XSS. So let's set some cookies first. And you will see that we are able to set a cookie here. Now see if we are able to execute XSS by the cookie. And you can see it is also vulnerable for XSS. This is being reflected. So if we show the response in browser, you can see it's being in the browser itself. So XSS is being executed. So that's it for the vulnerability regarding CRLF. And next thing, we are just going to see our last class of vulnerabilities and today's last topic. That is the host header. I already covered a bit of host header in the authentication vulnerability while I gave a topic of authentication. So we will just solve two labs regarding host header injection. So host header injection is a type of attack where we are able to change the host itself. Like we can see if like this was any kind of request, and see this was the host, right? So if we are able to change this host to some other host and we get that host out in the response, then means this is vulnerable for host header injection. Or like if there is certain endpoint which is not accessible via normal host, and then if you are able to modify it into some other host, and if you try to access that particular resources, then means that particular website is vulnerable for host header attack. So basically we can learn more it by solving the lab. We will get much better idea how to go for it. So we will also take code trigger to learn about the host header labs. So we'll just go to the learning path. We are already in it, I guess. And let's solve some lab. And then we'll be understand much clearly. So first one is the basic password reset positioning and how we can use host header to perform password reset. So this lab is vulnerable to password reset positioning. The user Carlos will carelessly click on any links in the email that he received. To solve the lab, we have to log into Carlos account. Okay, so I will show you how thing happens. Till then time is something else in the proxy. Let me clear it. So this is it, right? And we have the credential of winner and Peter. So I will just forget password for winner because we have to perform, we have to know the account of Carlos, right? I'll submit. Sorry, just a minute. I didn't turn my proxy intercept on. Just check your email for a reset link, and our email server is out in the expert server, like client. So this is our email client where you will get the password reset token of. So this is our password reset token. If we click on this, we will be able to create a new password for winner, right? So we can click something like, we can create a password like happy. Now, if we'll study the request, let's look for a request like forgot password of host. This one. So if we send this request to request, so this is the request that is triggering, like sending the forgot password email to the your email client, right? As you can see. So what we can do, what if we try to change the host to any host that we know? So we are already provided with an exploit URL host in our exploit server, I guess. So this is the host of our exploit server host that we can use. Like this is the server that we are controlling, right? So you can copy this and paste it here. And in case of username, we'll be giving it Carlos, as we will be trying to hack into your Carlos account, right? So now if we send the, okay, so we are getting invalid host. Just a minute. So guys, so I'll just send this request to repeater once again. And at first I will change it to some any google.com and I will see if everything is okay or not. क्या हो रहा है? Why we are getting some invalid host? This was not the post request for forward password. Wow. Okay, so I think I need to do the lab once again. Okay, so let me just, something is, we have to open the bob suit once again. There's some problem. बहुत बार हम यूज कर लिया उसका. Sorry, so yeah, so I have to perform the password reset once again. So let me just close it and let me once again open the lab. That will be better for sometimes this code trigger do some kind of glitches. So let's open the lab once again. Let me turn my intercept off. Let me turn my intercept. So go to the expert server, go to email client. Now just go to the post request of forgot password. This is the request. So I send it to repeater. We're getting a 200 okay response. That's good. Now if we change this host to like google.com and let's see, we're getting 200 okay. That's good. So we'll go back to our exploit server and we'll just copy this link. This thing we'll use as our host. And we'll change this to Carlos and we'll send the request once again. And we got a 200 okay. Now in our exploit server, if we check our access log, we'll get a token, and we can see we have got a forgot password token here, right? So this is the token of Carlos. Now we can use this Carlos token to change Carlos password. But for this, I need the first the URL of a basic password reset URL. So for this reason, we'll go to one of our email client. I'm going to click on one of our email. Then I will, oh, sorry. So this was in Google, right? This was our Web Security Academy. So I will change this token to our token that we copied. So that belong to Carlos. And this is the password reset page for Carlos. So if we just keep the Carlos password as, let's keep hacker, and if we click on submit, now if we go to my account and try to log in as Carlos and hacker, we're logged in, and we can see we have solved the lab. So that's how we can use post-treated ingestion to perform password reset poisoning, right? So I have showed you this kind of same thing in the authentication part. And even I have told you that in my channel out in their YouTube that there is a same kind of vulnerability regarding a real life example is out there in my videos. So actually this also come under broken authentication because you are bypassing actually the authentication, right? And just you are doing it by password reset poisoning through host reader. Anyway, so we'll do another lab regarding this. So we'll do this hosted authentication bypass. So this is another which also come under authentication bypass. See, so actually all the topics are somehow correlated to each other. So we have to access the admin panel and delete Carlos account. So I already discussed you. If you are trying to find the admin panel, what you can do? The first step will be checking the robots.txt, right? And you can see there is something known as a /admin. That's good. So we can just browse to /admin. And admin interface is only available to local user. So what we can do, we can append some host, or we can change something in the header. So I will intercept this request, send it to repeater. I will change this host to localhost. And if I send the request, I should intercept. Okay, so there is some kind of problem again. Let me just load this one once again. Go to admin. Let me send it to repeater once again, and this 401 unauthorized. Just put localhost, and we can see we are getting a 200 OK response. So now we can see we have accessed the admin panel. So the next thing that we have to do, we have to just delete the Carlos. So we can just do by giving delete username equal to Carlos. and we got a 302 found, and we have successfully solved the lab. So this was an example of host-reader injection, and I think let me just see if this one is still vulnerable, and then I hope I would have shown you. Just I have got to know if this in once I found this was vulnerable to host-reader injection. So I don't know. This was a case of years ago. Let me still see. Let me just show you. Let me see just. Let me load it. And if I change the host to evil.com, let's see if I forward. Yeah, you can see it was just redirecting it to evil.com. So that means that particular website was vulnerable. Sorry, this apniketi.com was vulnerable to host reader injection. So this is a real life. Okay, it is still proxying. Wow. Okay. So I think this is a case of stored. So this is a case of stored host header injection. Like if I am trying to access that particular website, it is directly redirecting me to email.com. So this is a unique case. You can say this is a case of stored XSS. Like sorry, it's a stored host header injection, which is directly saving it into your cache. But if I open this website through my private browser, I will be able to access it because this I am opening through private browser. But if I try to open it through here, it will be directly forwarded to this because it has stored it in my cache. So this is actually an example of host reader plus cache poisoning. So note it down. This is another unique bug type. So I hope all of you guys have learned. So we have literally covered all of the vulnerability types, like all of the injection types. So I hope you guys have learned each and every one of those. So that's it for this class, I guess. So if you have now any question, we can take over those. So yeah, that's it for this, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. You have explained it very well. Now the platform is open for questions, and we have covered every injection in detail. So I am posting the link here for the quiz, and just request you to share the screen with a timer of 20 minutes, please. I have pinned the comment on the YouTube. All right. And now it's open for question. Yeah, thank you very much for the feedback that it was a nice session, awesome session. Thank you. So these are the feedbacks which are coming in. All right, there was some error, but now it is accepting the response. Okay, so can you reset the timer again, sir, please, for 20 minutes again? So do you have any question? Please post it into the YouTube chat so that the speaker will take it. So Raghavendra sir, there is a question. Uh, how can we make a report on bug bounty, and can you point out some tips? Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, so how you can make a report on bug bounty? Let me show you a sample report of mine. That will be better to understand. Or if you are reporting in platform, generally you get all of the headers. So let me show you. This is one of the report. So this was a thing bug known as improper permission leading to remotely access anonymous user in FTP server. So I was able to access anonymous in the FTP server as an anonymous user. So what I did first, I made a summary of it. What is actually the bug of it? So you can make a gentle summary of it. Then you can make a step to reproduce how you can reproduce it. Then you can attach some reference point into it. Or the best one, actually, you can find some bug bounty reports, or what are the format that you can follow is in this one. You can just go to this particular URL, hacktify.in/bug bounty, and what bug you want to report. Just you can just go click on any one of this, and you will get a how you can make a report of any bug. Everything is out there, like summary, severity, complexity, step to reproduce, impact. So there are a lot of demo reports and for each bug, and how you can customize this report, every report. So you can just go to this website, hacktify.in/bug bounty. Okay. In band versus out of band versus error based SQL injection. what do you mean by in-band versus out-of-band? There is nothing known as in-band, out-of-band SQL injection. It is known as bind SQL injection one and normal error-based SQL injection, and there is something known as time-based SQL injection. There is nothing known as in-band or out-of-band for SQL. Like you don't use collaborator, right? So error-based SQL is generally when SQL injection is based on error, like something like or 1 equal to 1 or 1 equal to 2 and 1 equal to 1. This is on the basis of for error based, and for time based you give payload like and something equal to 10 second and sleep equal to 10 second or sleep equal to 10 second. This is based on time based. So you can refer a bunch of SQLi payloads. Payload SQL injection checklist, and you will get a different type of payload for error based, for time based, and for others. These are all the full payload for blind SQL injection. I can't show you any vulnerability on government side. We are not authorized to do so. You can see these are the payload for time based and blind SQL injection. See. But if you want to report any vulnerability on any government, like Indian government, then you can just go for Indian government RBDP and RBDP, and you can report any vulnerability which you find on Indian government website. So their scope is all website which end with gov.in. So you can find vulnerability on it, then you can directly report it here.
Alright, there are two questions regarding the assignments. So it is very clear into the rules of the training and internship program. Daily you have to spend 3 to 4 hours, and on weekends nearly 8 hours, including the training. So if at all there are some questions regarding you have exam or something like that, and due to that you are not able to complete or something like that, you can email us on internship@cybersecureindia.com regarding your problem statement with the specific and valid documents which states your genuine problem. After reviewing that, our team will be able to comment on it, that if you are allowed for a extension of assignment submission or not. Okay, so that is what I can say. All right, what is the question about the labs which sir has done? Only that we have to complete. So in the assignment folder, there are labs which are given. So you can refer to that labs and can complete that labs. Okay. Abhinav, sir, there is a question from Jolly. Can you take that?
Yeah, I was just saying the question, but I am not able to understand. Alter table interns to add column inter news INT.
Jolly, can you actually elaborate your question completely, please? Last 9 minutes are left, so guys kindly fill the quiz form quickly.
Okay, he's asking from quiz. Uh, I don't know about the quiz kind. Okay, SQL statement is valid here. This is not an SQL statement. Like alter table returns to add column new int. This doesn't make any sense. Like if you just exactly this is like there is no punctuation marks or there is nothing. This is not a correct SQL statement. I don't know the context, but just by this is not right. How to get in touch with me? You can get in touch with me through my LinkedIn and through my Twitter. So let me show you my LinkedIn ID and my Twitter ID. So this is my LinkedIn ID. Sorry, I can't share my contact number. But you can DM me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Twitter, you can DM me on Twitter. I am much more active on Twitter.
Yeah,
So,
guys, you can connect him on LinkedIn. That would be great. Because sharing the contact number in public will not be possible. And only DM with the query after you're not able to solve with the Google answers. So it's a request that not to directly ask the question, but before asking the question, you should use Google, Chat GPT, and other sources for finding the answer. Self-learning is expected, and if at all after that you're not able to understand something, then you can.
yes, there are other platforms to practice. You can refer to Try Hack Me. There is Hack the Box, and there are labs of XSS Rat. And for web, much more web applications, there are also some labs. Like there are Root Me just now I told there is Pentester Lab is there. So you can refer to all of this. There are a lot of platforms. So this is my Twitter link. You can also contact me here. and this is my LinkedIn. Yeah, you can. There are customized labs of access, right? You can check his lab for web application vulnerabilities. How am I getting started with bug bounty? Any resources? There are a lot of resources for bug bounties. If you want to start with the port trigger, start with the web application vulnerabilities. Start with them and start solving CTFs in HackerOn CTF, not normal CTF, just the CTF of which are present in HackerOn platform itself. It will give you much more exposure to how web application work. Follow different type of YouTubers channel, like that. There are a lot of, don't follow the old obsolete channels of stock. They don't follow live recon of Nahamsek. Follow channels like BBH. Follow all POC's channels, like there is practical bug bounties, and follow all the, and if you are want to go good with bug bounties, then try to be very active on Twitter, because all pro hunters out there give their suggestions, give their tips, bug bounty tips, everything on Twitter. So be very active on Twitter. So try to utilize all these resources and be active on some Discord channels also. Like there are some Indian hunters out there of like Akash Hamal and all. So try to get in contact with the Discord channels. So do you work as a pen tester now? And who is your person? Right now I left RIS as I am pursuing my MBBS, so it was not possible for me to cope on with the hybrid work. So I left it recently. Now I'm share the URL. So yeah, this is the URL. You can see, just search this Agniva Datta in LinkedIn and see if you get a some picture like this. Follow
Oh,
this researcher,
I
you'll
will
get
share
it.
that URL. Don't worry. I think
And this is the Twitter.
yeah. I think like because of that, some moderator rights we are not able to post. But don't worry, I'll share that URL.
1 minute more, guys. So any further question? Just shoot me up. For pen testing, what type of pen testing? Web pen testing or network? So for good resources and labs, you could just go for TryHackMe. TryHackMe has a lot of labs and rooms, and also Hack the Box. Just go for them. Did you got some bounties till now? Yeah, I have got a lot of bounties. I have 500 plus rank in H1. So yeah. Huh. For network and web both. For network and just go for TryHackMe and Hack the Box. You'll also get any web on those. But if you want to work more with webs, then I will say to labs, go for Pentester Lab. That's a very good resource.
And actually, TryHackMe basic assignments for network and everything are already given to every one of you. So you can check that, and obviously those who have solved the labs would have that experience.
If there's some like you got some duplicates and no bug bounty, yeah, a lot. I got a hell lot of duplicates. Duplicates not applicable are just a part of bug bounty journey. You'll get those a lot. You just need to keep yourself motivated. Even one thing, like I had a whole old my old HackerOn account was like, it was so, my reputation point was so low that I had to close that account. Yeah, that's just a part of journey. Right now, I'm
Okay.
not able to share my chat. Okay, thank you, guys.
The timer is up, but if there are any questions, we can take one or two. All right. What
Yeah,
is the level of coding knowledge we have to know in cybersecurity? That's the question.
That's a quite good question. So it depends on what you are going. So if you're just going for the network security, and then I will tell you just learn a bit of C and learn a bit of like any assembly language, because you will need those for buffer overflow and expert development. You can just learn the basics of it. And for web applications, I will tell you just learn any scripting language like Go or Python, and learn the bash, because you will need those for creating your own script for recon and other purposes. So just an overview of languages is enough for you. So I think I will end it here, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time and this wonderful session. You have covered really a lot. And thank you very much for this audience, everyone, for joining. Keep learning, be motivated, and keep completing the assignments where you'll get the practical knowledge out of it. All right. So thank you very much, Agniva sir.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to announce again yesterday, which we announced, that on 27th we are having an offline meetup at Kolkata, India. So whoever are from Kolkata can obviously join. And from 29th April to 3rd of May, we are in Dubai. So you can ping us whoever are from UAE region. All right. So like we have posted the details over the Telegram about the Kolkata meetup. So you can register there. All right. Thank you very much. And Agniva sir and me both will be there. Basically, Agniva sir will be taking a session on API pen testing, and me myself will be taking a session on mobile spying. So people from Kolkata, we will be there to welcome you. And we are taking this type of chapters opening and all in every city now. We are planning all around the world. So stay tuned. We'll be there coming soon at your city. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Everyone.
guys. Thank you.